10 months ago, I started to use the Sony FX3 to record all the videos for this channel. A couple of weeks ago, I shared that I had boxed it up, and as of a couple of days ago, it's on its way to a new owner. And here's why. Or maybe here's why. Hey, I'm Kelly. I'm a father of 6, full-time software developer at Rescue Time, and Dean of Digital Campus at Signum University. My main goal on this channel is to share what I'm learning about staying productive at work so that you have more time to spend with the people and things that you love. And today, that's cameras. In particular, the Sony A1 and the Nikon Z9. Now, this isn't going to be a review or comparison video between the two. I'm not going to be talking about any tech specs or providing any real-world data or usage. Instead, I'm going to talk about why I'm switching away from the FX3 to one of these two great cameras for this channel, and which one I'll probably be working with for the foreseeable future. But listen up. I know that talking about different camera brands can get a bit heated, and seems to inspire arguments, almost as much as being a Tolkien fan as of late. But comparing Sony and Nikon is not the point of this video. These are both excellent cameras, and any decent photographer can get amazing shots with either. But I'm not a decent photographer. I don't know as much about cinematography or storytelling as my YouTube hero, Peter McKinnon, and I'm definitely lacking in the technical know-how that Gerald Undone provides. So you may be asking yourself, why is Kelly holding the top-end camera from both Sony and Nikon? Well, simply because it's fun. These are expensive cameras, really expensive, and it's an absolute luxury to be able to have one in hand, let alone both. I was feeling very guilty about this, but then I realized that we don't have, and by we I mean Yolanda and I, don't have many other high-value depreciating assets that aren't tied to my work. For our family of 8, we have one minivan that we bought a couple of years ago as cheaply as we could. We may become a 2-car family at some point in the future. If we ever have to upgrade to a 12-passenger Ford Transit, we'll probably get a smaller, more economical car to go along with it. So, besides that van though, these cameras are our single largest depreciating asset. And given the salary that I make and the lifestyle that we choose to live, it's more than reasonable that I have these cameras. But it is still a luxury. Enough preamble though, let's talk about the A1 and the Z9 and why I've ultimately moved away from the FX3. 10 months ago, I released a video sharing the top reasons why I switched to using the FX3 as a new YouTuber and how it made my existing workflow so much more efficient. And I still stand by everything I said in that video. Some of those features were really low-hanging fruit that apply to most modern cameras, like the A1 or the Z9. Web camera software that actually works, USB-C power pass-through, not overheating, and elimination of the 30-minute record limit. I don't want to negate the importance of any of those. They are all crucial to my workflow, but frankly, they're kind of not very interesting to talk about. So instead, let's spend the time discussing the other 4 big draws to the FX3, and how my needs have changed to make them less important, or at least able to work around. The first of these was the flip-out LCD screen, which both the A1 and the Z9 lack. I wanted an easy way to align shots while recording, or to make it easier to make thumbnails of myself without recruiting Yolanda's help. But over the past several months, my setup has changed quite drastically. Between my teleprompter, mics, and other miscellaneous gear, I was no longer able to see the flip-out screen anyway, so I ended up purchasing an Atomos Ninja 5, which acts as my external studio monitor, really negating the need for that flip-out LCD screen. Yes, sure, this doesn't solve the problem when I'm out vlogging, but to be honest, I've hardly ever used the FX3 for vlogging. Instead, I prefer to use Yolanda's much more portable Nikon ZFC, which I'm recording this on now, or my much more portable iPhone 12 mini. So the lack of a flip-out LCD screen really doesn't matter to me that much anymore. Next up was the Sony 16-35 f2.8 GM, which was another big draw to the FX3 in the Sony ecosystem. I thought that lens would cover every focal length I needed, and was something that Nikon really lacked. Now, obviously the Sony A1 can use the same lens, but this is also a non-issue. I thought I would be doing more wide-angle shots, but I consistently film in the 25 to 35mm range, perfectly covered by Nikon's 24 to 70mm f2.8. It's still a great general-purpose lens, and I really wish Nikon would offer a lens covering these focal lengths, but it's really not crucial for my video work. Tally lights. These weren't a huge draw to the FX3, but once I had them, I loved them. Once again, I can work around them with the Atomos, but I really do miss them. I really miss them. It's probably the thing I'm gonna miss most from the FX3. Finally, the big one, and that's the ability to do direct-to-video digital audio recording from an XLR mic. When I switched to using the FX3, I was still doing all of the editing for these videos on my own, and I needed to squeeze every little bit of friction out of the process to make it sustainable. Now that I have an editor, I'm willing to put in a bit more time during the setup. Now, I'm sure some of you will point out that digital audio recording from the XLR mic is possible on the Sony A1 with the Sony XLR K3M digital XLR adapter. And you're right. But in the process of trying to figure out if the Z9 will work for me, I had to redo my audio setup anyway. And I think I like it better. I've started to experiment with lavalier mics and 32-bit recorders. And no, I doubt they're the godsend that many people make them out to be. But they should make the whole audio recording process much easier, and even something I could duplicate on the road. I'll keep you updated on that in the future when I settle on the workflow. But all of those are just the reasons I went with the FX3 in the first place. They don't explain why I'm switching now. It's really quite simple. At this moment, I can't justify having a separate camera for stills and video work, and I really miss photography. Sure, the FX3 can take photos, but let's be honest, that's not a fun prospect. And my main joy in photography is in the act of taking, not in post-processing or later review. I want to enjoy the capture in the moment, and I can't get that from the FX3. So what's up with these long lenses? Because those are certainly not for YouTube videos. The most fun I've ever had while taking pictures is doing street photography in major cities. No, these are also not street photography lenses at all. That's more like stalker level lenses. But the thing is, I don't live in or near, remotely near, any large cities, and my visits don't happen often enough. But we do have plenty of birds. And lately I've taken to the thought of doing more wildlife photography, which is where these long lenses will come in handy. Now, I've only had these cameras for a couple of weeks, and I really haven't had the time to do anything outside of a quick setup. So this is very much first impressions. Let's start with the Z9. The Z9 is a very special camera to me. It's more the fulfillment of a dream than anything else. Back in 2007, after much debating and internal struggles, I ended up purchasing my first DSLR, a Nikon D40. And I instantly fell in love with everything about it. As is natural, for me at least, I also fell in love with Nikon's then top-of-the-line camera, the D2XS, soon to be replaced by the D3. This Z9 is the direct descendant of those cameras, with many, many technological leaps in between. Unboxing this camera was the fulfillment of a dream that I've had for 15 years. And picking up the Z9, holding it in my hands for the first time, my grin couldn't have been wider. But man, this body is heavy, really heavy. But it also fits in my hand like a glove and feels natural to use. I received the A1 a couple of weeks later, and the experience there was completely different. For me, it was a utilitarian purchase. The A1 is the camera I should get. It's a camera I should stick with going forward. It's smaller, it's lighter, way lighter. And Sony is much more heavily invested in cinema cameras. Just in case I ever really did grow on YouTube and wanted to look back into having dedicated YouTube cameras like the FX3 or the FX6. Not to mention the fact that Sony dwarfs Nikon in terms of ILC sales. But the thing is, it just doesn't feel good in my hands. Even with the attached grip, the Nikon Z9 is way more comfortable to hold for me. And honestly, at this point in my life, that's all that really matters. I don't make any money with these cameras. I don't need to capture the shot no matter what. Even if I did, they both far outstrip my ability. What matters, as I said at the outset, is how much I enjoy using the camera. And the Sony just feels sterile for me. I'm still going to give it some more time. The customization on the A1 is second to none, and that plus button placement might prove to make it more enjoyable to use in extended durations. But I kind of doubt it. My heart's still with the Nikon, and I'll probably be there for a while. Or at least for now. Now, I know this wasn't my usual style of video or really content at all, and frankly I didn't provide any technical information. I figured you can get that elsewhere. Above all else, I just wanted to share with you my experience in opening them up and playing around with these two new high-end cameras and share with you where I'm at with that. I'd love to hear from you guys. What'd you think of this video? What could I do better? Was this sort of content enjoyable or not? Please let me know in the comments down below. I'd also love it if you stick around till next time by clicking the subscribe button or checking out one of these videos over here, which I think you may like if you enjoy this video. Till next time, bye.